In the heart of Los Angeles, amidst the roar of the crowd and the flash of the cameras, one name stands tall: Byron Scott. Welcome to The Blueprints. I'm your host, Chantal Rochelle, and today we are giving flowers to an NBA legend. Please join me in welcoming the legendary Byron Scott. How are you, Byron?
I am blessed. Thank you so much.
Sitting next to a legend, where do we even begin? When you think of the city of LA, you have the Kobe's, the Nipsey. You cannot have that conversation without having you in it as well. Inglewood, born and bred.
Yeah,
What was
yeah.
that like growing up in Inglewood? Little Byron, I imagine with the basketball,
With
little tiny
basketball,
little.
with football, baseball, whatever I can get my hands on
Yeah.
is what I was doing back in those days. And
Hmm.
it was great. Growing up in Inglewood was fantastic. I had all my boys there. We all played all the sports, so we were always kind of running around. We had our own type of gang. It was just us, it was all the athletes that kind of went to school together to kind of protect
Yeah.
ourselves from the Crips and the Bloods and
Yep.
all the other gangs that
Hmm.
were happening at that time. So it was a fun time for me. It was a great
Yeah,
childhood. I had a lot of protection,
for
because all
sure.
my boys figured that I was going to be the one that would make it. So,
Hmm.
anytime we got into any scuffles or anything like that, they was like, "B, you got to go,"
Good luck. Listen,
because you
listen.
going to be the
Yeah.
one, so you got to go. But it was great. I loved Inglewood, still do.
Yeah, so you were the one that they looked to, like, we know Byron's gonna get up out of here and he's
Yeah.
gonna like really, really make something of himself. So, who were some of your inspirations, not just basketball, but that you look to, you're like, man, like this is so inspirational. Like I look to them.
The first person was my dad.
Mm,
I never seen a man that would get up every single day to go to work, come home, take a nap, have some lunch, and go to his second job.
wow.
So my dad was the first man that I admired because of the way that he tried to keep food on the table and clothes on our backs, roof over our head.
Hmm.
And he was also the first man to tell me anything you want to get in life, you're going to have to work hard at it.
Yeah.
So the relationship that we have and that we have to this day is still very special to me because he was, he was my everything. He was somebody that I looked up to, somebody I wanted to be like.
Yeah.
The way he raised me and my siblings, I thought was the way you're supposed to raise a family. So it was a great time.
I love
And like I
that.
said, my dad is still, he didn't show us back then that love and that hugging and all that because men just didn't do that back
Hmm.
then.
Hmm.
But to this day now, that's all we do when we see each
Love
other.
that. You're like,
We
hey,
grab each
Dad.
other, big hug,
Yeah.
tell each other how much we love each other.
You gotta make up for lost time. You're like, Dad,
We
we
got
have,
to,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
because like I said, he's been around for a long time. He's been there by my side through everything.
Hmm.
He's been there when I needed him,
Yeah.
and to this day, even at my age, I still that's my man, that's my guy.
I love that. With your work ethic and not just, with your upbringing, but your mom and your dad, and
Mm.
them both instilling different values in you. When you got drafted to the NBA, what was that moment like collectively for you and your parents and that your family? What was that
It
like
was
for you?
huge.
Hmm.
It was huge for all of us. It was like if I get drafted, we all get drafted,
Hmm.
so to speak, for my family. I was the oldest of four. My mother and my dad, they never finished high school. They had to stop and help the family by getting jobs. So I was like the first one to go to college, first one to get a degree,
Yeah.
first one to get MBA. To do what I wanted to do. So it was an extremely proud moment for them because I think they saw in me all the hard work that I did. To get to that particular point and to get drafted, was a great accomplishment. But my dad, being my dad, was like, "All right, you got drafted, but now that don't mean you
Time to get
made
to
it.
work.
Yeah,
Time to get to
that
work.
don't mean you
Yeah.
made it. You got
Uh-huh.
to keep working.
For
You got to
sure.
keep working. You got to get better every year and things like that." So again, just being that dad, he
Hmm.
was always the one that continued to push me and keep me grounded.
Yeah, it's just also a testament to his, his parental, like being on you and being like,
Yeah.
hey, you
Oh,
got this, you
yeah.
got this. Being in the city of where you were born, LA Lakers, it doesn't get any better than that. You're playing opposite your contemporaries with the Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul. Like, what was that dynamic, like that camaraderie? Y'all all just walking legend, just chilling,
Oh
playing the game
man,
that you love.
I tell you what, it was so it was so unreal.
Hmm.
The first practice that I had with those
Yeah.
guys, the first time I got a chance to be on the basketball court with
Hmm.
them, because like you said, I was at home, I was in college watching these
Yeah.
guys, in the NBA, and I was like telling myself I'm gonna be there one day.
Mm.
Didn't think I was gonna be there playing with them, but and in my hometown, the team that I admired, the team that I love, my favorite NBA team, and now I get a chance to play with them.
Wow.
I get a chance to play with the organization, And the first couple of days on the basketball court with those guys, I was like in awe,
Hmm.
because of the fact that, like you said, I had been watching them on TV.
Yeah.
And it took me a little while to realize, I was like, man, hey, you belong
You
here.
just, yes, you've
You
earned
belong
it.
here. Yeah,
You've earned
you've
it.
done all the work. So you got to continue to, to keep putting that effort in.
Hmm.
But you got to also understand that now it's a job.
Yeah.
This
Hmm.
is your career, and those guys let me know pretty early, especially Magic. He kind of took me under his wing, him and Michael Cooper, and they just kind of helped mold me and raise me in the NBA to the player I was at the end of my career.
I love that. I mean, imposter syndrome is real, but you earned it and you deserve to be there. So, what kind of advice did Magic Johnson and those, like, people that you look to, what kind of advice did they give you?
Well, Magic was pretty cool about it. After he was beating me up in practice for the first week or so, him and Michael Cooper, he said, "Well, first of all, we wanted to make sure you were tough
Yeah,
enough,
yeah.
and second of all, we wanted to make sure that we could count on you, So once that was all clear, they was like, all right, this is what you got to do every year,
Yeah.
to get better as a basketball player." And basically, it was just work your butt off. Work your butt off, improve on little things that you're not good in that year.
Yeah.
If it's just left hand dribble, improve on
sure.
your left hand dribble, improve on your jump shot going to your left. Just little tidbits that they were giving me each time to get better each. And that's what I would do. Each year I would take a little something and add to my basketball game.
I love that. And when you are taking up, as an athlete and then making the transition to coaching, when
Mm.
did you know that you were ready to leave the sport of basketball as a player?
You know what? Like a lot of us, I didn't necessarily know until I was 36 years old,
Mm,
and I thought I could still play. But I was working out one summer to get ready for the upcoming year, and I remember saying, "I can't do this.
yeah.
My body just can't take the type of workouts that I have to do. I know I can't go out here and produce like I used to produce." So I had to come to a realization that this is over.
Yeah.
After this year, this is over, and now you got to start thinking about your second career. What
Yeah.
are you going to do, with your life after
Hmm.
basketball? So for me, I had Pat Riley,
Yep.
one of the greatest coaches in my mind of all time. He told me when I was 26 years old that I would be a coach one day, and I told him he was crazy. I said, "You're out your damn mind."
Not
Just like
me.
that too. I said, "Rouse, you're out your damn mind."
So not
He was like,
me.
"All right, watch." And then I go to Indiana to play for
Yeah.
Larry Brown,
Hmm.
legendary coach as well, and he told me, "I think you would be a really good coach one day," because he would ask me all these questions in practice. And that got me to thinking about coaching,
Hmm.
and at that time I was 32 years old. So I started keeping a little journal of things I would do and wouldn't do and like to do and things of that nature. And the type of offense I would run. So I kept this journal for the next 4 years until I got an opportunity to be a coach.
I love that. And when you're coaching, like, again, you're taking the notes that you know as a player, but how are you now informing that as a coach? Because you're not one with the ball in your hands anymore.
Right,
You're the
right.
one instructing them. So how
Yeah,
was that transition? Because I would have been like, let me get the ball too. But like now you are the leader.
yeah.
You are the one who's orchestrating this team. So what was that transition like for
It
you?
was a little different,
Yeah.
because I was with a team that was full of leaders.
Mm-hmm.
When you
Hmm.
talk about Coop and Magic, myself and Kareem, and we had a bunch of leaders,
Yeah.
and everybody led in their own different
Hmm.
ways. So I had to kind of really find out what was my leadership style.
For sure.
I wasn't a yellow screamer. I wasn't the most quietest guy
Hmm.
either.
You're like, you're going to
And
see me.
yeah, you gonna hear me too,
Hear me.
and I wasn't one of those guys that was real laid back.
Yeah.
I think the fact that I played in so many years
Yeah.
and been in so many battles and wars, that it enabled me to be a little bit tougher on guys,
Yeah.
and being with Rouse and some of the coaches that I was with, that were, real disciplinarian
For
type
sure.
coaches. I kind of took on that persona as well,
Hmm.
So my coaching style was a little bit between Pat Riley and a little bit of Larry Brown
Hmm.
as well.
Hmm.
And it worked for me. For a while I think it really worked. And then you get some of these young guys, they can't take it,
For sure.
because they don't like to be yelled at, or or pointed out that you didn't do this or
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
But I was always the type of guy that was like, look, if I'm asking you to do this, it's for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you for my health. This is what we did back in the day to win championships. So
Yeah.
when you win one, then you can tell me, Coach, I
Okay.
don't know why we doing this. But until then, shut the hell up and,
Exactly.
and
Do
do
you
what
join the
and do what I
club with the
told you to
ring?
do.
Yes,
So I was
exactly.
a hands-on coach, and you got to remember when I got my first coaching gig as a head coach, I was only 36 years
Mm,
old. So I was still able to grab the ball and say, look, this is what I'm talking about
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah.
So it was easy for me to kind of make that transition.
So when you have, making that transition, when you are talking to other coaches and you're looking, studying plays of coaches before you,
Hmm.
how do you stay in your own lane, right? How do you not look at what the other coach is
Right.
doing? Like, is your unique sauce that you're like, I have to focus on this and just be Byron Scott, not what anyone else is doing?
Yeah, I think God gave us, one mouth and two eyes for a reason, and two ears. Listen
Yeah.
and watch before you speak.
Hmm.
And when I'm giving respect to other coaches, that's basically what I'm doing.
For sure.
I'm
Hmm.
trying to pay attention. I'm trying to learn. I'll give my opinion every now and then if somebody asks me something. But when you got coaches that are Hall of Famers that have won championships, my whole thing was I got a pen and pad,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna listen
Hmm.
more than anything. I'm gonna jot down notes more than anything.
Yeah.
But if you ask me a question, I'm gonna give you,
For
my
sure.
opinion.
Being the student and the teacher.
Absolutely,
That's it's
absolutely.
perfect. With with your career and just being a coach, you have faced adversity, as a
Hmm.
coach, as a player, as a human, as a man. Like during 2005, you had just been a year in with New Orleans, and
Mm,
coming and leading this team, bringing them at the time the Hornets, and saying I'm going to come bring this community up. Then Hurricane Katrina
mm.
happens. You then have to transfer your team. The community is rocked. You're fresh into the city. Tell me all of those skills you learned throughout your life. How did you put that on? Say, I need to show up for them right now.
You know what? Hurricane Katrina was obviously it was very devastating to
Mm-hmm.
the city of New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And I had really got entrenched into New Orleans. Love the city, love the culture.
Yeah,
So I love that city. I was so looking forward to that season
for
starting until
sure.
Hurricane Katrina hit.
Mm,
Now we have to move. The season's got to continue, so we go to Oklahoma City
yeah.
to continue the season. And the only thing I could think of from a leadership standpoint is lead by example.
Yep.
Let everybody see that. Listen, okay, that was kind of taken away, so you have to change it to a different direction. But you still have the same goals.
Yeah,
Everything's still the same. You just got to do it in a
for
different
sure.
place.
Yeah.
And that was my attitude.
Hmm.
With my team, with the organization. Once they found Oklahoma City, which welcomed us with open arms,
Yeah.
they were unbelievable. And from day one, they made us feel like this was their team.
Hmm.
So starting there was a blessing in disguise because of the fact that we found a new home,
Yeah.
but we did not want to forget about where we came from. So the NBA, David Stern, and company made it a point to make sure that we went back to New Orleans to play a couple of games, just so the fans, the city, and the community understood that we haven't left you.
Yeah.
We'll be back. And then
Yeah.
2 years later,
It's
we
just
were back.
temporary.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just temporary. 2 years later, we were back.
And what was that like 2 years later, returning back to that
It was
home
great.
court?
It was great. As much as we loved Oklahoma City and what they did for us, and what they allowed us to bring to that city
Hmm.
and that community, it was great going back home.
Absolutely. It's
You
nothing
know,
like home.
nothing like home, and especially that food and all that
Okay,
good stuff out
listen.
there.
That
I
boudin
was loving
alone, the
it.
gumbo. I'll be like, man, can we get
The
back to the
gumbo,
food?
Commander's Palace, and I was loving New Orleans,
Okay,
the
yes, I'm
restaurants
like,
and the food.
yes, please have it all lined up when I get there. I think that's also a testament to adversity in general, in that situation, that season that you were not just in the basketball season,
Mhm.
but the season of life that you were in. What other, I'd say, adversities or challenges as a coach that you've had to be like, okay, I'm going to sit with this, whether it is, people are always talking. We live in the
Right,
world of social media.
right,
Okay,
right,
it wasn't when you was playing, you wasn't hopping on Twitter
right,
and seeing what people were
right.
saying, but now you're in a time where people could critique anything. How do you
Mhm.
just block out the noise and just stay focused on the task at hand?
Well, as a coach, I used to always say, you hear people in the stands, telling you to take this guy out and
Hmm.
put this guy in and do this and do that. And even one of my coaches asked me, "How do you block it out?" I said, "Listen, if I start listening to them, I'm gonna be sitting with them.
Okay.
I'm gonna
That
be
part.
sitting with them."
That part.
I said,
Yep.
"So I gotta believe and trust in what I
Hmm.
do,
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, I gotta look in the mirror.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. At the end of the day, I gotta know that I did everything possible to make this team the best team it could possibly be. I did everything in my power to do everything to make these guys better basketball players each and every day. And as long as I can look in the mirror the next day and know that I did that, I'm good.
Yeah.
No matter what the consequences are. But I'm not going to listen to people on this noise outside
Hmm.
trying to influence me to make decisions about stuff that they don't have a clue about anyway. So I've always been a self believer. I've always
Exactly.
believed in myself big time. And like I said, I've made mistakes just like everybody else,
Mhm.
just like every other coach, every
Mhm.
other player. But number one, I've been able to admit those mistakes when I make them.
For
And number
sure.
two, try to correct them. And number three, I live with them.
Because you're in your shoes, no one
I'm
else
in my
is.
shoes and I'm
Okay.
good with me.
Okay, listen, I'm
I'm
great.
good with me.
So think it's also a testament to your leadership and in the fact that like so many players look up to you. Rest his soul, the late Kobe Bryant
Mm,
thought very highly of you.
mm,
So highly of you that he recommended you as the head coach of
yeah.
the Lakers. Having, him coming after you in your shoes at the LA Lakers. What?
Chantal, can you pick up from the middle of that, please? 1 second. Just leave it there. Leave it there.
So where am I picking up from? Lakers?
Just, yeah.
Okay. And speaking of players who look up to you
Mhm,
and your leadership and who you are and what you give to, just not just players, but just the community.
mhm.
LA loves you, you're beloved. So when someone like the amazing late Kobe Bryant says, I want Byron Scott to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, him coming after you, the
Yeah,
Lakers dynasty,
yeah.
how did that feel?
Uh, it was extremely gratifying because I met that young man when he was 17 years old.
Wow.
And I met him in an orientation, and we hit it off extremely well. The only part that I didn't like, I kept telling him, I said, "Stop calling me Mr. Scott." Mr. Scott, yeah, I was like, Kobe, don't quit calling me Mr. Scott. We're gonna be teammates. Don't call me Mr.
Like
Scott.
enough of that, enough.
And it took him a while to not do that,
Mm,
but it also shows the respect that he had,
hmm. Yeah.
as a young man for his elders, because I was twice his age, so I understood it for a while, but to get the endorsement from him,
Hmm.
it was huge because it also just told him or told me and everybody around that he believed in me and he trusted me that I could lead this organization back to promised land.
Absolutely. When you have someone of that caliber, be like, wow, I see him. And for someone like him to say,
Yeah,
would want someone like him to coach
yeah,
me,
yeah,
that speaks volumes.
yeah.
And so, especially in LA, when you go to LA, where are the places that you just have to stop? Like, what are the must have places when you come to, especially Inglewood? Where's food places, some
Mm.
places when you go back home, you're like, I have to stop here immediately.
Well, in Inglewood, Market Street is one of my favorite spots to
Mm-hmm.
go to.
Mm-hmm.
They got a soul food restaurant, which I cannot. I've never looked up and got the name. I just go in.
I'm here.
I just know where it is, and I just go in and get my food,
Yeah.
and I leave.
Hmm.
After I finish eating, I take some home, obviously, and I always got to go back to Morningside High School.
Yeah.
That's where I grew up. That's that kind of started to give me my wings of understanding who Byron Scott was
Yeah.
as a young man and as a basketball player.
Mhm.
So those are kind of the two main spots that I go to when I'm in Inglewood. And every now and then KJLH, I
Yes.
mean, that
Yes.
radio station I've grown up
Iconic.
with,
Yeah.
and it's iconic. And I've been on there so many times, and
Hmm.
a lot of the people that still work there I know. So those are some of my spots.
I
When I go to
love
Inglewood, and
that.
every now and then I'll go up to we used to call ourselves the Hillbilly because we live right up the hill on Sixth Avenue. I'll drive by the old home that
Hmm.
I grew up in,
Yeah.
just to see the old neighborhood again.
I mean, and thinking of your old neighborhood, the young generation that's growing up there now,
Yeah.
and the young generation that's now entering into the NBA and beyond, what advice do you have for them who are, bright eyed, bushy tail, just ready to, not understanding the world yet? What would you say to them?
I think the first thing I would tell them is be humble.
Hmm.
Stay humble. Not really be humble, just stay humble and just understand where you came from. And every single day, try to get better.
Yeah.
Work your butt off. The one of the main reasons that Kobe Bryant, changed his number to 24. Because I was like, KB, why you change your number? He said, it's 24 hours in the day to get better.
Wow.
He said, so every single day I got a chance to get better. I got
Mm.
24 hours. So for all these young guys out here, he never sit on his laurels of what he was able to do. He never sit on all the things that he was able to accomplish. Every day that man wanted to be a better basketball player, a better husband, a better father, a better friend. All those things these young people in this generation they can learn from. The mama mentality is not just on the basketball court. So that's something that I took to heart when he told me that. I was like, wow, that's deep. Every day I try and strive to be a better person,
Mhm.
and there's 24 hours in that day. So the next day I want to be better than I was the day before.
I love
And
that.
that's something that you young people got to take to heart.
Absolutely. And it's also that seeing the evolution it's just in the NBA, period. How has it changed in your opinion from the time I mean, the shorts have gotten longer, that's for sure. That is for
Oh, that's for
sure.
sure. That's
Okay.
right. You ain't
Okay.
lying
They have
about that.
every year I feel like
We
they
ain't
go
got no
down
Daisy Dukes no more.
a few inches every
We
year.
got
Just
below
go.
the knees now almost. I mean, golly.
No, I'm like, it's gonna be pants next year, okay?
Right.
It's gonna be pants. What has it been like seeing the evolution over the years?
You know what? It's been weird, but it's been fun.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
mean, nothing stands still.
Yeah.
Everything, comes and goes. The evolution of basketball has changed.
Yeah.
The game when I came in the league was an inside out game. You had all these big, fantastic centers, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Artis Gilmore, Robert Parrish, every team, Daryl Dawkins, Moses Malone, every team
Yes.
had one.
Yeah.
So the game started with trying to get them the ball. Inside, if they double, throw it outside. People like me try to knock down shots.
Yeah.
Today's game is an outside in. You coming down shooting threes on 3-on-1
Okay.
fast breaks.
Yeah.
It's just a different game, but it's still to me a very exciting
Yeah.
brand of basketball.
Mhm.
So if
Mhm.
you are a basketball enthusiast, you still got to love the way the game is played,
Yeah.
and especially the fact that you got guys like Kevin Durant, who's one of my favorite players, 6'11", 16. He plays like a two-man, like a guard, the
Yeah.
position I played,
Mhm.
back in the day, and
Mhm.
he's 6 inches taller,
Wow.
so it's almost impossible to stop him,
Mhm.
So I love that the game has changed the way it has changed. I think the NBA has done an unbelievable job as far as branding the NBA, around the world. Their branding players nowadays is unbelievable. And I like some of the players that we have coming up that's going to take the
Yeah.
range. LeBron James has done an unbelievable job for 20 plus
I
years
mean, goodness.
of taking or put basically having his name, or being him the face of the NBA.
It gets
And
better
and
every
he
time. Yeah.
at his age right now, he's not slowing down.
At
It's
all.
amazing. So I don't know who's the guy that's going to replace him when he's
Mhm.
done. That's going to be the face of the NBA, but I think the NBA is in good hands.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And when you look at not just basketball and what, the next act would be for you, what are some things besides basketball that you're like, I'm kind of interested in that. Any other industries or things you've been thinking about getting into?
A lot of other industry. That's the problem. I got too many things. I
You want to do
want to
everything.
get involved in this and that. I mean, I've been getting involved for the past 15 years in business.
Hmm.
And real estate, baking companies, dog food companies. I mean, I've been in a vast majority of different companies that I've been kind of dibbling,
Hmm.
dabbling in,
Hmm.
and I just love the fact of being a part of business.
Yeah,
Being with some of these guys and talking about strategizing on how to be able to take this from here to there.
for sure.
Take it from the factories to the grocery stores and things of that nature. Also got a cannabis company. I mean, I got all these different
Come on, LA.
all these
Come on,
different
David.
things going on. But the cannabis company is in Jersey.
Oh, yes, I love it.
It's in Jersey.
Taking it
Yeah,
out of the yeah.
it's in Jersey.
I
So
love
just
that
just kind of putting my hands on all these little
for
things and having
sure.
fun with it. My wife, she's an entrepreneur as well.
Hmm.
She had a
Hmm.
med spa. So we're very business oriented
Yeah,
because we knew basketball wasn't gonna last,
for sure.
60, 70 years. It
Yeah,
lasted for 20 something years, 30 years.
absolutely.
But I just been dibbling, dabbling, having fun, just
Hmm.
experience and having experience going into the business. And I got an unbelievable business partner who's been very successful in all his business ventures. So we've joined forces in 3 of the 5 or 6 that I'm in. And it's been fun because I'm
Yeah,
learning so much,
for sure.
and I'm again one of those guys that's not afraid to be in the room and say, "What did you just say? I don't understand not
Hmm.
one bit of that
Hmm.
from a business
Yeah.
standpoint. Can you
Hmm.
talk to me like I'm a 2-year-old and explain it
Exactly.
to me?" So it's been a lot of fun. I've been learning a lot.
For sure. Would you ever do reality TV again? I know you did basketball wise. A
I
few
love.
cameos,
You know
yeah.
what? I enjoy doing stuff like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
I didn't enjoy basketball wise.
Yeah.
I tell you that right now. I didn't enjoy that because that's crazy. People are catty, and people want to start a bunch of
Hmm.
crap,
Hmm.
and I'm not
It's not
one to
you.
play with
Yeah,
when you want to start that type of stuff.
exactly.
But if it was something that was like a reality show that was bringing light to uh, my wife and I and other couples that were doing something on a
For
positive
sure.
level, that
For
would be a
sure.
lot of fun to me.
Hmm.
And doing it for a charity or things of that nature, that would be a lot of fun to me. I love interacting with people. I love talking to
Absolutely.
people because again, everybody has a story.
Everyone.
And I
Yeah.
and I like to hear their story just as much as people want to hear mine.
I mean, I would tune into the Byron dispensary show if you honest. If you
Send you
building
some
and
product,
taking on,
just send you a little something, a little care
just
package
being a
just in
supporter
case,
for you about it. Yes. Well, I mean, whether it is owning a dispensary or being a coach or being a great, husband or human and just being who you are a legend. And so
Oh, well,
thank you.
thank
You
you.
have many more acts to go, and I can't wait to see what you do next. So thank you for joining us
Thank you
today,
so much. I appreciate you.
Boris. Thank you.